Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. It's a multimedia platform to bring hazmat responders and information, training tips from hazmat responders around the world. Today, I'm acting temporarily as your host. I'm Bob Koshignano. And in the corner there, we have Jason Rogers. Jason, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jason Rogers. I'm the hazmat coordinator for Muncie, Indiana. We're about 40 minutes north of Indianapolis. And glad to be here to fill in one of the seats.
And we, as I was just trying to tell Jason, we've had some interesting developments. We have Phil's unable to make it tonight. And I just got a message from Bobby and Mike, and they're actually on their way back from, I think they said a chemical spill in Manhattan. In a
of course,
because they're both working tonight.
Right.
So I'm working, they're working. There's some kind of chemical spill in a college lab in Manhattan, and they're on their way back now. So, the original discussion for tonight was going to be talking about some different myths in hazmat world and some things that people have often believed in, and whether it's true or not, we were going to dispel some of those. We were also going to talk about a few different calls, which we can go into a little bit. What we're probably going to do is we'll probably just go for a little while. We'll see if these guys can pop on, which I hope they can. And like I said, I'm also on duty now, so if I got to bug out, Jason, you're going to be left holding the bag. So, actually, and stand by. Because,
this will happen. For sure it will.
Yeah.
All
right, not me. So, this is how things always happen. So, at any rate, one of the things that we can talk about, we can kind of talk about some of the calls and stuff that we came across. I know Jeff Z, I was talking to him briefly earlier. They had, I saw what you put on there about Glendale. It's actually Arizona, where they had a chemical spill.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw Jeff. Yeah, Jeff put that on there, and I actually caught it from Hazmat Nation. And thought it was actually Phil's department. But
I know, there's so many there's so many Glendales. I didn't even know that, but there's I think we even have some here in Florida, believe it or not. So, but one of the things, have you had any interesting interaction with mercury?
We actually did. Now this was before. This was probably 10 or 15 years ago. Actually had some kids find some mercury in a neighborhood, somebody's grandparents' basement, and they actually took it home and started just playing with it, So literally, mercury was all over this house, to the point where the house was not salvageable. They had to have remediation come in, and they tore the house down along with dug the property, because apparently the kids had played with it outside, and that was just outside of our university area. So, I don't know how much it ended up being that they were actually using, and where it would have potentially come from, but it was apparently a large amount. But I remember, you used to be able to get mercury in like those, the little science kits and stuff, to play with when we were kids. So this was obviously much, much more than that.
Right. And the reason why I bring it up is there was an incident. This is one of the calls I want to talk about today. Was there was an incident in California where they had a mercury spill. And really there's what some people know or don't know about mercury. The biggest hazards to us are the vapors. So if we can control those vapors quickly, cover them up by whatever means, then we can start worrying about cleaning them up. And there's different procedures. There's different instruments used for actually, for lack of a better term, vacuuming mercury up. But Yeah, we've had a
Mm-hmm.
couple
Yep.
minor incidents with mercury. Like you said, it's more of the thermometer type situations in doctors' offices.
Right.
There was a area in Central Florida here with a large visitor population that apparently had mercury spilled in a restaurant area. And they cleaned it up and took care of it. And I don't think they even had to close the restaurant down for any period of time. But um, they did what they needed to do. I'm sure took all the necessary precautions. But mercury's not that kind of thing that you run in too much of. So
Now, I don't know about you, Bob, but we carry some mercury kits just because it was pretty common, and so, some powders basically to kind of solidify it. But you're absolutely right. It's got to be swept up and with some type of special filter on what looked to be like a low
right,
shot
right.
back type
And
of deal.
let me just make a point to everybody. If I have to bug out, we're going to shut this down, and we will reconvene tomorrow night, 9:15, for a new show with everybody. We'll be in attendance, hopefully, and we will have more information of Bobby and Mike's call because I can't wait to hear about that. Um, so the engine just went out, and I'm next up. So um, yeah, it's been an interesting day for us. We've had a couple, two or three EOD calls downtown and amongst our regular stuff. So it's been interesting day here as well. Another call we were looking at is the warehouse fire in Houston. Um, I'm sure everybody here has seen that already. I mean, it was a whole warehouse, and just from the totes that I could count up, I'm actually looking at a picture of it now. It looked like there was at least 200 totes. I don't know what, and several drums outside as well that were getting involved, and that whole warehouse took off. I think they had some pesticides, if I'm not mistaken. Did you see that one at all?
Yeah, yeah, I did. We actually did an
Right.
article on Hazmat Nation about it. So yeah,
What did intel do you have on that one?
not a lot other than they did call it a hazmat, the fire. From what I saw from the news articles coming out, locally, whatever it was obviously combustible because it went up quick. I mean, there were the first pictures I saw. It wasn't that bad, and then made it actually outside to the drums and the carboys and all the stuff that was piled up outside, and then all the cars that were nowhere near it were engulfed. So yeah,
Right,
something
right.
significant for sure.
And I think
Um,
man,
the No, no, I was going to say the afterthought was I think some of the follow up was that it was multiple chemicals, multiple containers and that sort of stuff that they were looking at the cleanup. So huge plume
yeah,
from the
when you
pictures
get
that I
something
saw.
involved like that, and I think I don't remember which episode it was we did. I want to say it was 5, 6, or 7, somewhere in there that we did as far as storage warehouses and knowing these facilities. You really got to know what these things are, what's being stored in them.
Mm-hmm.
Have an instant action plan all ready to go, and then follow that to the best of your ability. I mean, what I was looking at, it doesn't look like any agent got applied for a while. They probably let most of it burned out and surround the area, and really, you're not going to stop that,
Yeah.
especially if you've got flammable liquids going. You're going to be there for hours and hours and hours. The biggest thing is to try and control the runoff, which if I remember reading something, they had some runoff go to an area, but it was the water level was so high that they thought that was actually going to help dilute some of the pesticides and stuff that were involved in it. Um, so at any rate, um, one of the things that we had talked about also was, as I mentioned before, myths. Some of these different myths. There's something that one of our brothers from the Philadelphia area had mentioned. Um, Not getting into political whatevers, uh, but one of the things that they had mentioned was that there was a website going around on the Bernie Sanders supporter kind of pages, trying to get people to make these like glow sticks, and help burn burning glow stick or something. I don't know. And actually, it was a chlorine bomb. So yeah. So
Oh, wow.
the interesting stuff that the brothers from Philly mentioned, excuse me, was that this was circulating on the internet, and people that were Bernie supporters or whomever were starting to make this stuff, and there was a potential for some chlorine releases or chlorine bombs. Unfortunately, we're in an age now where if you read it on the internet, it's got to be true, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to go into the makings of this for obvious reasons, but know that there is no easy shortcut way for making glow sticks. And if you see these kinds of things, just be cautious. There could be an opportunity where responders are getting called out to a chlorine type emergency, and it might be one of these incidences that have taken place.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's there is a phenomenon. What do they call it? False something. But anyway, I mean, you can mix A plus B together and create all kinds of bad stuff. So it's it is scary. But why would you want to make? So my question is why do you want to make glow sticks
right.
when they're like $1.99 someplace?
I know.
You know what I mean? I mean, so for sure. But that I think that brings up a good point. I've seen there has kind of been a resurgence of like chemical suicide, and you've seen a few things. Yeah, Ray says the internet's written by idiots. That's absolutely true. But there's been a resurgence of I guess internet scientists going on and trying to do some things that end up hurting people. So we've seen that here. I don't know if it's just me that I'm catching that stuff in the news or it's actually just becoming more phenomenon.
Right. Yeah, I think because we're more in tune with it now, we're starting to see some of these. Yeah, the bottle bombs are rising too. Yeah.
Works bombs.
Yep. So, so anyway, that was just something that was brought to our attention by some of the guys from Philly. Thanks for the tip, because I had not heard of that yet. So that's something that definitely, hopefully, will make others safe.
No, I hadn't
it was. And I saw a quick snapshot video or picture of it that Phil had sent me, and it was just it was in a 5-gallon bucket, and with the different components. So, and it was, I mean, good. Go ahead. Yeah, so it
brings up something, we talk about myths. Something that came to mind when you and I started discussing this was, you have an incident, and what's one of the first things that we see, or one of the first things that everybody does is they want to shut off the air conditioning, air handling units, and all that sort of thing. And just read an article where it talked about the actual air handling units were spreading, I believe, a organophosphate around a school. And you got to wonder, do you shut it off if that's the case? If that's if it's going to ventilate, but that seems to be one of the first things that we always do is let's shut this off. And you really got to work.
Yeah, absolutely, and that brings up a good point for something that happened today. We had one of the suspicious package calls we had was at one of our government buildings, high rise with 2 low rises next to it, and somebody prior to us getting there made a decision to dump all 3 buildings. So now we have I don't know, a couple thousand people maybe, or at least 1,000 people coming out of the streets and all over the place. Would it have been better to make a PA announcement, put deputies around the doors, and have everybody stay inside versus having everybody come outside? That whole defend and place situation.
Yeah, yeah, shelter in place for sure. And the EOD calls have, I mean, that's changed kind of over the years because now you're like, well, who knows the building better than the people that work there every day? So what is suspicious? I mean, to you and me, we go into an unknown building, and I'm not going to be
Right,
able to
right.
pick out
And
what doesn't belong there
we ended up
necessarily. So
having a
that's a good
couple
point.
different things to look for with some different information, and then they ended up going back later on for another one. So, like I said, it's been kind of an interesting day. But yeah, the shelter in place is always an option. People, I think, are too quick to jump the gun and go ahead and um, evacuate or whatnot. I was seeing, talking about air and movement of the air. I follow the New York news, obviously, since I'm from up there, and see what Bobby and Mike might be doing. But they were testing the subway systems and with an inert gas or whatnot for flow paths. Can't talk. And I'm sure they were looking ways at air monitoring or whatnot because I forgot how many millions of people travel their subway system every day. You're obviously not going to be able to handle all that depending upon what happens. So, we had years ago in a high rise somebody just using cleaning material, and it went right next to the air handler, and it spread throughout 4 or 5 floors, and it was nothing more than basically Windex, and everybody got the psychosomatic. Oh, I'm having a chemical reaction, and 10 yeah. 10 people went to the hospital or just wanted to get out of work. I don't know. Probably a little bit of both. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we probably all had those. I mean, we had a call last year, same kind of thing. Walmart had a lady go down, and next thing you know, everybody in the store is sick. Of course, they're all probably looking at lawsuit, but yeah, Bob Stern's got a good. He said that what air handler brought outside. I don't have my glasses on. Hang on, getting old, buddy. Sorry. Crematorium, animal crematorium across the street. Spent time trying to find the odor in the building. Yeah, that mace. We had another one, mace in a bathroom. Somebody fired off in their purse or whatever. So yeah. I mean, it's something. It's solving the problem. I think that's the big thing when it comes to hazmat.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm getting
I mean, you gotta look for the clues.
Just pulled back in, so let me tell them we are on and waiting. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that, Jason?
Oh no, we were talking about Bob Stern had talked about an animal crematorium having the smell being piped in by the air handling system, and then I had mentioned mace. We had a mace incident not too long ago. Ray Bramble says, yeah, they had a mace incident in the jail, and it spread through their jail like crazy. So yeah, it's it's solving the problem. I think that kind of coming in with open eyes and
right.
listening to what the complaints
and
are.
Speaking of mace,
to rule out what it's
at my
not.
daughter's high school, week before I went to the Keys. Can you see nice tan I got going on? Yeah. Yes. I had a good time. I subscribed.
Yes.
I subscribed, and Phil sent me a text. He said, "What the F?" I thought you were in the Keys, and I was getting ready to push play and get on there, and I thought, my wife would absolutely kill me if I did that. So I kind of snuck to the bathroom. I was gonna, so nah, I'll be a good guy and not do that. But anyway, before we went on vacation, my daughter's high school, there was a big fight in the cafeteria, and there was 2 girls being out of each other. They wouldn't separate. The officer at the school sprayed some mace, and they had to transport 7 kids to the hospital. I mean, and that's some bad stuff, and it went because of the way it happened. It spread throughout the cafeteria downtown when they have all these crowds, and they're starting to get rowdy at night. They use the big bottles of spray the cops carry around, and it's just a quick spray around the crowd. And even when we're going up and down the street, in the engine or the truck, we'll get a little whiff of it, and it's bad stuff. But so mace can definitely spread through the jail like crazy, like Ray's saying.
Well, I think that speaks to a larger point. We're kind of talking about all these smells and stuff, but you brought up sick building syndrome, huge, absolutely huge, and that's not just a hazmat problem. I mean, that's an EMS problem. It's a crowd control problem for law enforcement, and how are you going to handle that? You roll up on like our truck, our hazmat truck may on a good day is going to have 4 guys on it. May have 2. With more guys on the way from other apparatus, but you pull up and you've got 10 or 15 people that are, given some type of medical complaint, and they're all wanting to be transported. I mean, that's a mass casualty incident more than it is really a hazardous materials call. We had, whether it's mace, whether it's ammonia, or from like a cooling thing. I tell you, I was trying to think. No, we had one that was a floor buffer run on LP, and I think 30 kids to the hospital. That was at a daycare, and they had buffed like the floors with the LP driven buffer, and it was just residual essentially from the night before. The building was evidently sealed that well. That's not necessarily sick building syndrome, but it's something that you definitely got to be prepared for.
The other thing that they had, I'm trying to think of where it was, tying into all these different odors and stuff. I mentioned, I forget how many episodes back it was, about hazmat alert protocol. Talked about that, chem suicides and stuff like that.
Yep.
And if anybody out there, I know some people have tried to get a hold of me and wanted that protocol. I just actually had an article come out in Firehouse last week or whatever it was, about chemical suicide and meth labs. And in that article in Firehouse, I put in there that sample protocol for hazmat alert. So those of you that were asking me about it, if you get, I think it's even on the online version of Firehouse, you can get it right out of there if anybody's interested in that hazmat alert. But that goes to when we have these multiple patients, they're exposed to these chemicals and these gases, and now we're transporting. I mean, basically, we're almost getting to a mass casualty part, depending upon what your definition of a mass casualty. For us, if it's over 6 patients or more than X amount of units can handle, we're calling an MCI, a mass casualty incident, and then everybody and their brothers coming. So.
And I'm probably the exception to the rule. You guys are all in larger metropolitan areas. We're serviced by one hospital for 130,000 people, probably 120. But anyway, MCI to them is probably 10 critical patients, and huge. And I would probably suspect that across the country, a lot of that's probably true. We're like a level 2 trauma center. So, not huge, but we don't have any other resources. We're it. So that's something that some pre-planning definitely has to be taken into consideration before
you
just go dumping these people everywhere. How about this? How about the patients, and this has happened to us a couple of different times, how about the patients that drive themselves to the hospital before you're even on scene?
Yep. And what's
what's your contingency for that? Are your hospitals doing their own decon?
Well, and that kind of prompted our hazmat alert thing that we do here. Because, as I mentioned before, one of our incidents was the organophosphate patient shut down the whole ER. We had a person that was he had a can of, I want to say, sodium hydroxide or something like that. And once he got a little bit on his hands, he noticed a little burning sensation. It wasn't a big deal. And when he went to the, I don't know what you would call them up there, but basically local clinic here, instead of the ER, they automatically send the ER and they close the whole ER down. And really all the guy needed was copious amounts of water. Yeah, exactly.
Water, so, wash him off.
And I think the boys are about to get on maybe. So yeah, it was not that big of a deal, but because they said, a chemical name without knowing about it. They freaked out and shut everything down, and then had to go to the whole decon dog and pony show for the hospital, which kind of was a little bit ridiculous. But what are you going to do? So,
well, and that's the thing. I mean, they're totally dealing with unknowns.
Absolutely. One of the other things that came up the other day was the regular gasoline, just a regular gasoline spill. You get contaminated on that. People are freaking out just getting contaminated with gasoline on their bunker gear or what have you. It's not that big a deal.
It isn't. I mean, obviously you want to stay away from your ignition sources, but our last hazmat call was 1,000 gallons of an old like 87 octane tank that was leaking into a storm sewer, and they'd lost 1,000 gallons into the storm sewer and sent it like a mile down the street. So the combination storm sewer was contaminated for a lack of, I think, education, or a lack of really knowing what to do. The jurisdiction, player not to be named, dumped all their AFFF, and I don't mean like foam nozzled it. They just dumped it into the sewer, thinking that would work. And unfortunately, it caused a little more. It's going to end up the jurisdiction a lot more money. The ammonia levels at the water treatment plant there are through the roof, and it's killed all the good bacteria. So best laid intentions are really, we didn't do those people, or that particular fire department, that decision to be made dealing with gasoline was really detrimental, just dumping their AFFF into there. And I mean, it couldn't have been, you're talking 15, 20 gallons.
All right.
It's a small department. So anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
I got to say something. I'm calling BS on this whole, Manhattan big call thing. I think it's just another New York City.
I wish it wasn't even worth it. I mean, like, they had a couple of kids that were doing something in a lab with carbon, like a block of carbon. And if they weren't making diamonds, I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were trying to make something with steel. And they, I guess, immersed it in cutting oil to prevent it from oxidizing. I'm assuming, I haven't really looked this up yet, but they basically superheated it in like a kiln, like a porcelain kiln, to try to liberate some of the carbon or something like that. But anyway, we got there and we were just washing boots. So it was very sexy work. Awesome stuff.
Why?
We did. We just pointed that. We shot the flashlight and did, posed for the pictures and did that kind of stuff.
There. He's lying. It was a car fire. They needed 300 guys there. They just needed somebody
we can breathe
water.
This fire out. That's our motto.
Call an alarm. Call an
everybody
alarm.
breathes in at once. So
yeah. Fire. That's that yellow stuff, right?
I apologize profusely. I think Mike's trying to get on too, but I apologize for being late. So.
Okay. Oh really? Come on.
Yes.
Okay, so let me give you the recap. We've covered sick building syndrome. We've covered some organophosphate stuff. We've covered decon in hospitals. We've covered MACE.
We just actually, it's funny you say the hospital decon. We just actually had last night. It's coming out this Friday. There was a podcast we're finishing up the decon 6. And we have like the emergency management guy.
Is it Decon 5?
For like a major metropolitan New York hospital
Decon
system.
6,
and the guy came on and really gave some really good information about how hazmat teams can integrate with the hospitals, and hospitals can integrate with the hazmat teams and EMS. And it was stuff that I never even thought about doing. They were he had a lot of stuff that he was bringing out in the podcast that was enlightening to me, at least. So by all means, I don't know if I could bring anything to the table here. This guy was the real deal, though. He knows what he's doing. Much more than me.
One of the things, one of the things we mentioned earlier. Have you heard about? And Phil had told me this from some of the Philly guys about the chlorine bombs that people were these glow sticks and telling them how to make it, and it was really a chlorine bomb. Have you heard of that yet?
Yeah, I've seen variations of different bombs in the 2-liter soda bottles.
Yeah,
I have seen the chlorine bombs, but I haven't seen them actually go off. We usually get them after they're done, and then somebody needs to decon.
I think he froze up. Huh, okay. I don't know if he can still hear us or not. Yeah, no, I got you.
I thought it was me for a second.
Where he's at is he's in the basement there.
Right.
So
yes, as evident
the
by
nice
the
pipe
crapper,
going right there.
Yeah, right. The
So,
catch. Yeah, the catch.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll reestablish connection with Bobby here in a minute, and Mike I think will be trying to get on as well. So let's go to the myths that we were trying to talk about earlier. What other myths have you heard about?
I mean,
how about everything's
good.
level A?
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Everybody thinks, hazmat. We got to get the guys out here. We got to get level A. And I'll be honest with you, it's all level A all the way, right? The majority of the stuff that we can do is probably splash protection level B stuff. I mean, you're still doing SCBA, but we had a call at our sanitary district, and what would have been sulfur dioxide, in an enclosed area, but it wasn't. It was kind of out in the open, and so it went level B. And
right.
It worked.
All right,
I mean,
we got
fine.
Mike coming on. Bobby's back on.
I think that's a big myth. As
all right.
There you go. I think that's a big myth. Everything's level
and
A,
we were just starting to talk about the myths that was our original topic for tonight. Besides all the other nuttiness that's going on, but yeah, level A all the way. That's if I hear that anymore, I'm probably going to throw up. I would say most of the times we can do stuff in bunker gear and SCBA. Now somebody's going to go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that," but you got to look at the properties of what it is you're dealing with.
Right. You got to learn to use the NIOSH. I mean, that is just absolutely a key point.
Right.
Your research is so important. And I mean, when you're not as smart as the Hazmat guys, I mean, they spew that stuff out.
I don't remember anything.
Book,
everything's research. It's not what you know; it's where you can find it.
Hey, my number. I was always told the number one thing
That's
for
true.
Hazmat. If you don't know who to call.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we got everybody now. All right.
Having some technical difficulties here, but anyway,
it's all right.
Oh.
Well, you're in a basement. Mike's looks like he's in a classroom or something.
Yeah.
He's got the better seat.
I'm in a closet though. I am.
All right. So what do we miss?
We were kind of talking. Yeah, Jason and I were talking about different calls and stuff for a while. Trying to wait for you guys to get on. Bobby told me what a massive, awesome job you guys did in Manhattan.
There have never been more shiny boots.
That's what he said. So we were just talking about. We just started with what the main topic of tonight was supposed to be about was myths. So we still got about 15 or 20 minutes left of the show. So we did the whole, level 8 all the way. So we dispelled that one. What do you guys got?
Oh, all right.
Mike, you got anyone?
Not off the top of my head. I'm kind of still in the frantically set up mode. I can't believe everything worked the first time I tried to come on. So,
Hey, how about this? Here's something too that I think has sparked a lot of discussion for us as far as APRs. Man, you gotta look for the right filter, because those Seaburn canisters, they're expensive. You see, and I know you guys, we've kind of talked in the past that another one of the blabs, things go to the cheapest government bidder or whatever. But trying to save money sometimes on stuff it's not the way to go. You can get P100 APR filter masks that look similar to the Seaburn, but they're not going to do the same thing. And so I think that your PPE is certainly not a place to skimp, as well as knowing the properties and the values of what the penetrations are going to be in your suits and those types of things. For me, I'm the probably number one thing that we are concerned with is respiratory protection, because that's going to get you really quick. If you're in a dangerous atmosphere. So those things, trying to save money, using APRs or not making sure that you're, fit tested or, whatever. I mean, just trying to save that money can be very
everybody
dangerous.
knows that there's different
that's a terrible
levels of those canisters. Like each canister is like, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but like there's like a class A, a class A2, right. Type 1, type 2, and each one does a different particulate and is certified for different things, but just keep in mind when we use the APRs, of course, everybody knows this, but I'm just backpedaling a little bit. 21% oxygen is a must, right? And they only last for, 15 minutes on the ones that I personally use it where we work. And they're a command decision.
Right.
Like they have to be at a level that's way up there. So, we're going to use the APRs. So it's, I'll be honest here, I don't think I've ever used it. Real deal.
No, not yet. And you can't go above the IDLH.
Really?
Right.
So
right. The only time we use the APRs is when we're doing powder calls.
We use SCBA because the air is free, so we don't really pay for it.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's labor intensive for us. I'm sure you guys, have a million hour bottles or whatever. So, but for us, if we're doing like a 2020 kit or an M256, I mean, it takes some time. So you're standing there and you're sucking air. You're going to have to go through decon. So I'm with you, Kosh. I'm thinking the APR is the way to go, because then it doesn't limit you to.
Well, yeah, and
or
the decision point for me is, I got somebody in there that opened up a letter. Okay, well, they're standing there, they're breathing. I've got oxygen. So obviously I can deduct a few things and go.
Yeah, but and don't hold me to these numbers. Good.
We
no.
We don't touch white powder with a 20-foot pole. So we don't.
True.
I'm sure if we were
True.
doing white powder runs all the time, we'd be slapping the pappers and the APRs on. But we're just not allowed to.
Yeah.
But another thing is that the SCBA is like, compared to breathing right now with nothing on, it's 10,000 times better respiratory. But the APR is like 100 or something like that.
APR, if the SCBA is 10,000, a PAPR, air purifying respirator, is 1,000, and then just a straight APR.
Okay,
is
that's
50.
what it was. It was 1,000. So, I mean, you're getting 10 times the level of protection using the SCBA. It's something that we, at least in the fire service, I know, Jason, you don't really use it as much, but it's kind of like the tool of choice. You're as more as a custom putting on your SCBA as you are putting on your boots. So, I think guys are very comfortable putting on the SCBA because it's just like the old reliable, as opposed to put on this APR and where do I plug this, and you got to put the thing on when the bowl floating in the middle, and then you got to put on your duck mask and you got to walk this way, and it's guys freak out. Let me get these 3D batteries that are in a sleeve. Are they D batteries? Are they same voltage? Can I put it's guys lose their minds. So
Right. That's
I
true.
just
That is true. If they don't practice with it, absolutely.
And that's a great point, because me being really integrated with the hospital side, they're far less comfortable in SCBA. So their APR really pappers or what they really like. I mean, come on, it's air conditioning under the hood,
Nice.
right? Because
really
it does feel good. It's not
You guys
bad
wear
to
the
be in
ones
those
with
things.
the little fans on the helmets that blow the air down over the face?
They come up, they're piped in from the back, and then the whole thing's got like positive pressure, over your forehead.
Yeah, we just have the regular Scott,
nice.
Scott ones.
Hey, so that brings
We
the,
use.
Yeah, when we were doing
Oh,
all
do
the Ebola stuff, we were going into
Um,
hospitals and we were, looking at their setup and making sure they were doing everything properly, and they got the
Like Dustin Hoffman
helmets
from
with fans
Outbreak.
in them and blowing on the face. Yeah, it was crazy.
dude.
It was
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah. So, Bobby, you brought up a good thing. You talked about, if you're going to be an APR, it's got to be 21% oxygen, or at least that's what your atmosphere. What for you? And we look at like 19.5 SCBA all the way. So is that what's your red flag level
to put on
for
SCBA?
O2?
Honestly, I think it's pretty much going to be like that's
that.
The 19.5 is like the threshold for alarms. I'm going to say we're probably going to put on SCBA anytime there's a deviation from normal. You know what I'm saying? Like anytime, because you got to remember, whenever there's a depression of oxygen, it could mean that there's something actually pressing it away. And so if I have a 1% change in oxygen, I have 50,000 parts per million of something there. That's a lot, So even though
way over an ideal age.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's 0.1, like if it goes from 20.9 to 20.8, I still have 5,000 parts per million of something. Chlorine is only what? It's just 10? It's 10, right? 10, so I mean, 10. We're talking about some things out there that are minuscule that are going to give that minor deflection. And if you say, well, my threshold is 19.5, meaning that I'm basically going to go down one whole percentage, I'm waiting for 50,000 parts per million of something to show up before I even put my SCBA on. So my personal thing is, if I deviate from normal more than what I think normal is, I'm putting it on, above or below.
And that's a great point, because you can look at your meter, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's 19, that's good. But there's so much more to that.
Like even
just,
how many times we go into a scene where you get out of the rig and your oxygen sensor in the rig shows at 20.5. I didn't do the fresh air setup, and it's 20.5, and we assume that's zero. But what if it really was 20.5? And what happens if when you get in there, it goes back to 21, or is everything skewed? Like, guys don't really think about that stuff.
Well, and to get different meters, if you're looking at using a race system, the normal oxygen reading is 20.9. If you're using MSA, it's 20.8. So people got to know what it is their systems deal with.
Yeah, exactly. And like Bob Stern saying on the side, it's 4% of something bad is replacing it. That's exactly what it is. And the reason for that, just to backpedal for some guys, when I said that 1%, everybody knows is 10,000 parts per million. But why did I say it was 50,000? Because oxygen is only 1/5 of the air. So you take that 10,000 and multiply by 5, and now you have 50,000 parts per million. That's what's actually out there. So.
Yeah.
Well, and what's the one sensor in your meter that's constantly being used? The O2 sensor is the one that's going to burn up quick because it's constantly doing its job.
Right. And it affects everything.
I try to do as little as possible.
When was the last time you replaced that?
Yeah.
Right.
And it also has the most effect on all the other meter readings, because there's a good portion of meters that are very oxygen sensitive. Mm-hmm. A deviation in oxygen will give them a deflection some way. I know we're going down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely. We just went down.
So
Yeah, awesome. Bobby, did you have any myths that you want to do?
Yeah, you know what?
Kick
Uh,
around.
I love the
Trying to think of
this is one of my favorite ones, is that we'll go to a gasoline leak on the street. I'm sure everybody is going to relate to this one almost instantly because it makes me laugh every time we do it. We'll go to a gasoline leak from a car, a vehicle, whatever, on the street. We come out with the speedy dries, the engines in the trucks. They do their little chicken flecker. They put out the speedy dry like they're feeding the chickens. And once it's down, like this, everybody's flicking it out there like it's chicken feed. And then once it's down, problem fixed. Everybody, we're up. The gasoline, the diesel didn't just evaporate. It didn't just get magically mixed in with this, this stuff that we just threw down. It's inert now. It's still there, and we just
got to pick it up.
Literally walk away. Yeah, I can say honestly, I've never seen it picked up, ever. We just leave it there and we just walk away. And it's like, all right, I guess it'll evaporate eventually.
Well, it's not 50,000 gallons when it's spread across 18 miles of highway.
Right. And then we call for the sander. That's all we're really doing.
The sand truck. That's awesome.
It covered it up.
Yeah, I love that. Guys, when we put an absorbent down, it did what it's supposed to do. It absorbed the substance. It didn't dissolve it. It didn't make it go away. I love that one. That's my favorite one. It's still there.
I had one of the DPW guys tell me one time. He goes, "I don't know why you guys clean that stuff up. The asphalt's got gasoline in it anyway."
Exactly.
Good.
I mean, he's like, "What are you wasting time doing that?"
And in
stuff
reality,
that's like seasoning the pan.
Reality, you take it and you put speedy dry over it, and all you're doing is hindering it from evaporating. So you're actually keeping it there longer than if you were just to spread it around with a squeegee and let it evaporate.
We have to look like we're doing something.
Yes, it's called job security.
It's the smoke and mirrors portion.
Right, look over here, not over here.
No, I'm trying to
you don't have to do anything as long as you look good doing it.
Well, that's me all the way.
Yeah. Especially with this hair and this great tan I got from my awesome Keys vacation.
We hate you.
I know. It's a game, not the player.
So I'm trying to think of a.
So
we covered a bunch of them on the cast. Maybe something that somebody says all the time would be the radiation. Having that we put our mask on to keep alpha and beta from getting inside of us, when in reality it is the sources
that's good.
that we're trying to keep from getting inside of us. We can give a rat's ass about the actual alpha and beta radiation. We're trying to keep those sources
because that just
from going in us.
That the radiation just turns into helium and dissipates. Like it's done.
Right. To blow up a balloon 10 years from now at a kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
I guess that's always when I hear like an instructor saying, I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't have a clue what he's actually talking about.
But you got to go along with.
Right. But you got to be like, yes, alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha. Yeah. What he said.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that one.
Anything?
There's
else?
a lot of scare.
How about dilution is the solution?
Well, it depends on what it is.
That's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have some asparagus and you're pissing in the bathroom. You definitely want to dilute that as quickly as you can. But for an acid and base, that's right. Well, I don't flush on asparagus nights. I don't flush in the firehouse. I leave that there.
You're a savage. You're a savage.
That's sick.
But
it's good.
Yeah, I mean,
good,
think about it. If you have a 1 and you're trying to get to a 7, that's what, like 10 million times as strong. You need 10 million units of measurement just to balance that out. So.
Yeah.
And I got Todd Burton's texting me. I don't know if he's on. He says he's trying to get on, but I told him what the topic was. He says, "Here's a myth: neutralizing acids with water."
That's dilution.
People think I guess it's dilution.
That's dilution.
That's dilution.
Yeah.
You're making more
That's
acid.
right.
Yeah, it just exponentially expands that until you hit that. It's like it's sick amounts because it's an extra zero every time you move one click.
Yeah,
Right.
jump.
It's each pH jump you add a zero to the amount of gallons you need.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
a lot.
So to go from a 1 into a 7 is literally 10 million. So if you have a gallon of acid, you need 10 million gallons to neutralize that. If you're just diluting it.
Right.
Yeah,
Piece of
easy.
cake.
We can do that.
Surrounded by river. Let the Hudson.
You guys got a super popper too. I think I might have heard that somewhere.
They're out of service, both of them. all four of them, whatever the hell they are.
Awesome. All
Oh,
right.
my God.
Well, we are getting close to the wrap up time. Unless you guys want to, you're probably tired and.
We kind of just jumped into this because we were
guilty?
of. Yeah, sorry.
We got
They're having dinner and we didn't even get to it yet.
No, you guys need to go eat.
When people think
you guys
that
need to go
gas
eat.
is totally filling a room instead of actually in layers, actually, and we talked about this on the podcast too. In reality, the room pretty much homogeneously fills up with gas, unless, in our experience, unless you're talking about something that is insanely light or insanely heavy, the currents in the room really actually do a pretty good job of mixing it up. And it is very rare that we walk into an actual gas leak and we're getting different levels on the ground as we do in the air. Like I said, unless you have something super, super heavy or super, super light, like the difference, what is it? Sodium hexafluoride would be one of those really heavy ones, or acetylene. For the most part, a lot of your gases, they're going to mix with the air. You can argue with me in Baltimore, but I'm telling you, my meters, they very rarely deviate from the floor to the ceiling. So, in a completely closed off room, no air currents, yeah, things will stratify, but there's always air currents.
I've actually I'm gonna back Mike up on this because I've only seen a true stratification in one occurrence. It was a snowbird, basically.
Did we lose him?
And
cut.
The one time someone agrees with me and they get booted. How the hell does that work?
I agree with you, but I'm just wanting to hear what the rest of his comment was.
Right.
That's awesome.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll give him a second. He's still showing.
So, Mike, you're doing oxidizers?
Yeah,
right?
I'm doing a whole thing on oxidizers. I'm gonna go pretty deep into try to get into the chemistry, the reaction, why they're an issue, how we can determine their severity. Hey, there he is, Mazel tov. All right. So you were talking about snowballing.
Yes. We had a snowbird, which is a New York term for when people come up into New York and then they go down to Florida to spend their winter months down there. And like Bob, he's been
Death's waiting room.
He's been snowbirding for the last 40 years.
Death's waiting room.
Bob is just old.
But what happened was they had a natural gas in the house and they had a pinhole leak. And over months and months and months, the house filled up with natural gas. And when we went to the front door, there was a strong odor of natural gas. But when we stuck the meter through the mail slot, there was 0 LEL. So we made the decision to go around to the whatever you guys call it, the Bravo Delta side, or we call it the 2-4 side. And we went to the sides and we basically popped the window on the second floor, and no odor, full of gas, because the methyl mercaptan came out of solution in the gas, and it actually separated. So I mean, that's one where the molecular weights are engineered to be exactly almost, well, I'm not gonna say almost the same, but very, very close, and they don't normally dissociate themselves. But if there is any type of convection heating or any type of air movement in a building, which is exactly what you want, like in your house, you don't want to be on the second floor and have warm, and on the first floor you have cold. You're going to try to keep the whole house mixed. So you're going to, in some way, shape, or form, have homogeneous type mixing. I understand what he's saying with the molecular weight and temperature and mixing, but I'm going to agree with Mike. I've very rarely seen a swing of more than maybe 1 part per million from the floor to the ceiling in all my investigation.
Yeah, it usually is pretty homogeneous. Like you said, I mean, the natural gas the acetylene, will shut pretty quick. But once you start getting beyond those really light molecular weights, I very rarely have seen, good separation. Unless you said it's an area where there's been no current, people haven't been walking through, people aren't opening windows and venting, and there's changes in pressure and stuff like that. But, for the most part, we do it, but very rarely see a difference in the meter.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, why don't you guys go get some food, and we'll kind of wrap this thing up here. We'll go around where everybody can tell where they're going to find. Oh, let me bring up real quick. We're going to be in Baltimore. That's coming up fast, very fast. We will actually be probably making an announcement of a meeting location here in the next week or two. So please stay tuned for that. Phil Ambrose from HazSim, who's our other normal co-host, not here tonight. He's probably going to pop that announcement in the next week or two. I'll be there. Bobby, Mike, Jason, are you going to be there?
I'll be there.
Cool.
I'll be in the face in the crowd to heckle the two guys on the bottom.
I'm going to be sitting right next to you. I'm going to have a beer in my hand and kind of.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're going to be heckling each other too.
So we've got that with.
Every time somebody makes a point, you just yell out, "What?" really
That's
loud.
Silly.
It screws them up.
What? That's awesome. I can't wait to try that now. We're also going to be at Nashville for Firehouse in Nashville in October. Anyway, where can we find you guys at?
I'm Mike at the Hazmat Guys.
And I'm Bobby at the Hazmat Guys. We have a podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher and Gmail and everything. We just have a general purpose Hazmat podcast that seems to be growing rapidly.
Absolutely. And I'm Bob Shignano. You can find me at HazSim, HZMTLT at Twitter. And this concludes another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Be sure to follow us.
Where can we find Jason?
Right?
Jason, where can we find you? See, that's why I never host.
Hazmat
I go out of line.
Right. You can find me on Hazmat Nation. Post a lot of articles. You can send me messages to Hazmat Nation.
Nice. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, that's a wrap. Be sure to join us next week. Next week, Tuesday,
right,
9:15. Blab.im. I'm going to stop the recording now.